Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Branding Banter, your promo podcast. Don't you worry about it, Meg. That 90-second clock does not start quite yet. We've got an ad read, okay? This sponsor or this broadcast is brought to you by good friends over at Bell Promo. All right, they're the award-winning supplier of the ever-expanding range on branded merchandise sold exclusively through their strategic network of promotional product distributors. Known and respected for the deepest inventory in the industry, Bell Promo also leads the way with innovative decoration methods, exceptional turnaround time, and the low 12-piece minimums. While they've made, sorry. While they've made their mark by offering the largest selection of drinkware on any single supplier, Bell Promo continues to expand their offerings, including writing instruments, notebooks, awards, backpacks, travel accessories, apparel, and headwear to better serve their distributor partners. They warehouse and decorate their merchandise in a state-of-the-art 350,000 square foot facility where over 800 passionate Bell Promo employees don't meet expectations, they exceed them. So definitely go check out Bell Promo. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring today's episode. And my name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA.
And I'm Meg Gerber, Director of Sales for Proforma.
And Stephen McFadden with TSC.
Love it.
Nice. So I guess I did kind of do that a little bit backwards. Normally we would do the introductions and then the ad read, but you know what? I just had to give you a little bit of, a little bit of banter. You know what I mean?
We had to mix it up a little bit today, right?
Just a little bit. So, Stephen, how are you doing? How was Easter?
Easter was great.
Yeah,
Easter was good. I enjoyed the.
You had to look behind you to make sure nobody was looking.
The 3 days. I was like, "Is the bunny still there?"
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed the 3-day break, and it's been beautiful here too, which is awesome.
Oh,
Nice.
good. Yeah, we hosted yesterday as well, so it was a little chaotic. What about you, Jeff? What did you guys do?
It was good. Very, very interesting weekend. So we did the Easter Bunny train ride up in East Top something or another in Pennsylvania somewhere. I don't know. On Saturday as a family. So that was a really cool experience. So thank you, Nana, for taking the grandbabies out for that. And then yesterday we were supposed to have some plans, but then unfortunately had a family member have to go into the hospital. So plans got changed a little bit. So, but everything's good. Everything's all right. So yeah. Other than that, everything was great. Easter was awesome. And of course, we've still got kids out on Easter break. So if you hear any noises in the background, I apologize in advance.
Same.
All right.
Same.
So we got a cool episode today for you guys. Well, not so cool, but we're going to talk about the recent events in Baltimore, the tragedy of the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsing, being hit by a container ship that had some power outages and sent a Mayday report, and there was obviously some unfortunate fatalities and casualties resulting from the catastrophic event. If you haven't seen it or heard it, there has been a ton of coverage all over the place about it, but we want to discuss it because it is a very recent topic, and it's going to have some impacts on the industry. And I just thought that it was interesting to talk about and to bring to light to the audience that's basically listening, because us, particularly Headwear USA, we have a warehouse in Maryland, and all of our stock containers come into the Baltimore Port. And we've already had to reroute a container ship that was literally due in, I think, maybe a day or two after that bridge collapse. So luckily, they were able to get it rerouted to Norfolk, Virginia. But the Baltimore Port is actually the country's #1 largest port for automotive imports. And amongst other things, but this isn't going to have like huge devastating effects on the industry, but I think you will feel it a little bit if you're cognizant of it. And obviously for any East Coast suppliers, it's going to hit home a little bit there as well. So over the last couple of days, I mean, what coverage have you guys seen? I mean, is there anything in particular that you wanted to sort of share with us?
Well, I did have a question, Bill, or not Bill. Jeez.
Hello, 2020.
Jeff, I had a question.
Alrighty then. Terrible impression.
10 minutes on the hour, and
oh man, all you need is a Whataburger cup, and I was dead on.
Yeah.
So you have a great example though, because I want to hear when you rerouted, like where was how far is that diversion, and then like what additional transit does that mean for you guys? I'm just curious because I don't know the impact in promo other than what we've heard about, like if it goes straight into there, but like what does that mean for you guys? Because you have a very real example you can talk about.
Yeah, so the supply or logistics companies that handle our containers are basically the ones that are in charge of rerouting stuff. But essentially, because it's not going into the Baltimore port, we are incurring any additional fees in freight from wherever it ports to our warehouse. So Norfolk, by car, that's probably 4 or 5 hours, maybe a little bit further.
Okay.
So it's whereas the Baltimore port's like not even an hour away from us. So it's a little bit of a diversion for sure.
I guess the big impact would going to be like how fast can they unload that many more ships that have to go into a different port? Because it being that big of a port, I think it's like you said, number one in automotive. I think it was like the 20th largest in the country.
Yeah,
that's going to be a lot of ships that have to go other places that they weren't expecting. So
yeah, so I did see just recently they were able to get I guess the first crane in that's capable of carrying like 1,000 tons or something like that. Because basically what happened is the container ship hit the bridge. The bridge basically just collapsed instantly, and so it's laying in the Patapsco River. So container ships can't go back and forth. It's basically created a barricade. So until they are able to get all the debris out of the water, ships are not going back and forth. And from what I've read, it could take up to 6 months, possibly longer, or it could be sooner. It just depends on what the situation is and how many cranes they get in and what all is involved. But basically where the delays are going to happen is while they're clearing that out. It's going to be years long to rebuild that bridge.
Sure.
So actual vehicular traffic will be impacted for quite a while, but the marine traffic is really what's important for the port. And yeah, I mean, it could be 3 to 6 months probably before they're able to get all that out of the water. So yeah, I mean, you got to imagine what that port does in 3 to 6 months and how much backlog that's going to create in other places, like you had mentioned. This might be a good time to even pull up the map here that we had discussed.
Yeah, that'd be helpful, I think.
yeah.
So let's just go full screen with that puppy. I mean, this is a maritime map. You can obviously see everything that's out on the water right now. But you go in closer to the port, and you can see how far inland this port actually is. I mean, it's up in the Patapsco River, up in this area, and the bridge is actually down here. So this is where the container ship hit that port or hit the bridge, and it collapsed. And there's obviously there's still some container ships up here that are not able to get out. And but all these ships that are going around the bay and around the oceans here, they have to divert to go somewhere else. So down here is that Norfolk port that we talked about. So you can see obviously there's a lot more container ships going into there, but yeah, they're either going to be going up to New York or into Norfolk, I would imagine, anywhere else along the East Coast. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Very interesting. And I think it's one thing that I noticed. So actually that morning I had to leave on a super early flight to Tampa. Now, one thing that you may or may not know about me, you guys, I live close to Philly. So Philadelphia is that, go-to airport. But a lot of times I will go down to Baltimore to fly out of Baltimore because direct flight, cheaper, it's just an easier in, easier out. By the time I get parked and get to Philly, it's almost about the same amount of time. Normally I would take one of the tunnels, but I have been known, because we do when you drive as much as we do, that if those tunnels are backed up, there's always an alternative route. And I have been known to take 695 just to get down to Baltimore, which is terrifying to me. The whole like, how does this look long term? Like, was this done intentionally? Was this on accident? There's a lot of conspiracy theories going around about who owned the ship, who, they called that in a couple of minutes before it even happened, saying we have no access, like we cannot steer the ship. But yet you see that ship going this way and then a hard turn. So there's a lot of things, like let's get your tin hat on.
Well, they did drop the anchor. I know that. So I mean, I'm not here to frou the conspiracy theories because I don't know. But from what I heard, they did call in a Mayday report. They dropped the
Yep.
anchor. And I know when you drop an anchor, the ship's not going to stop fast enough, but it can also veer a ship off one direction or the other as well. So that could have maybe been what you saw. I don't know.
Well, it could be. It could have been. But with that being said, it may not be the captain of the ship who was involved in it. He obviously is doing his job. If it was some sort of cyber attack, could have been done from the inside, could have been done from the outside. But it's not something that we should not take lightly, especially if this is the beginning of many. And I'm not trying to instill fear tactics, but we can't be blind to this either. Like, we have to be careful, be diligent, and again, I was terrified sitting on that airplane at 4:30 in the morning, thinking, "Wow, I could have gone out of Baltimore any day, and it could have been me on that bridge." And it's scary. It's scary to think about that. And you live close to it, Jeff.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I commute on 695, a lot.
yeah.
A lot.
And I think they were able to
the main
off the bridge, at least for the most part, and keep people. There was enough time to secure it, from what I saw, which is good, except for the workers, a couple of the construction workers.
Yeah, I think there were some construction workers, and then I think there was roughly, I want to say 20-ish cars that did end up going down with the bridge. But yeah, they did put the Mayday call out, so they were able to stop a lot of the traffic. Like, it could have been a lot worse.
It could have been, and it's sick. It's very sick and scary. But I think the long-term effects on this, not only the traffic, and not only just Headwear USA. I think I saw Tal Specialties. Like, there's a bunch of suppliers on the East Coast that really rely on that, and there's going to be. We might not see it immediately, but like with COVID, there's going to be the supply and demand issues. There's going to be labor issues. People can't get to work. So I feel like we're going to see this for months on end.
To Steven's point, though, like, if you shut down a major port like that and all that traffic's got to go somewhere, it is going to cause delays because that has to go somewhere else, which creates backlog in other ports. Luckily, once the Baltimore port opens up, then they'll be, the floodgates will be opened. They'll be able to let everybody in. But
not to take a different approach on this, do we think COVID could have helped prepare us a little bit for some of the challenges that we're going to have, knowing that the port shut down? And I mean that obviously with lightheartedness, because I'm not saying that what happened wasn't terrible or anything like that, but we had to spend so many years trying to adapt to what it looked like when there were no containers and we couldn't get stuff unloaded. And so, few years removed from that, or a couple years removed from that, we kind of have a smaller version of that in some way, very hyper local. But do you think that could have prepared some of the local ports to maybe have some plans in place, not specifically for this reason, but because of what COVID helped them get prepared for?
Hopefully. I mean, and it's funny that you make that analogy, because I know in some of the articles that I read, that was one of the, I think it was, I shouldn't say because I don't know for sure. I think there was a trucking company basically, or a logistics company that does a lot of business there in the port, and they said this is basically another COVID or 9/11 for us, where it just shuts us down completely. There's nothing we can do. But yes, for the other ports, you would hope that they've maybe been able to create some sort of action plan when they have to take on the additional traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, and I know that people like Tal Specialties aren't just using that one port. They've been fully operational and have been using multiple ports of entry for products over the last 40 years. So I'm assuming it's going to be like that for the most part. I know that in particular, it was like one or two car brands that were really focused heavily into that port, and for the rest, again, it was like, okay, well, minor delays, but I think it was like maybe 4, I want to say. Was it 4 that's really heavy there? And they sent out like, hey, there's going to be major delays. And then everyone else seems like, here and there.
Was General Motors one of them, Meg, since we just discussed General Motors?
I actually didn't see General Motors on there. With that being said, though, to your point, Jeff, I really feel like since COVID, I think what that did, not necessarily for the port, but since COVID, we've seen an abundance, especially here in New Jersey and especially here in South Jersey, but an abundance of warehouses. Like every other block, I feel like they promise all these tax abatements and lower taxes for the communities, and then you're like, oh, my neighbor is a warehouse. literally less than a mile away, I have a stream of warehouses. So what they're doing is they're filling up. There's Amazon. So I think they're trying to front load these warehouses in anticipation of another of something, a COVID, another attack. What really, I'm going back to the tin hat conspiracy theories again just for a moment, but leading up to this event, there was a lot of things on I hate saying just TikTok because it kind of almost invalues the information that we're getting, but there were press releases done by leaders of communities, sheriffs, mayors saying it'd be irresponsible for you to not prepare on some level. But what does that mean? Like, what do you know that we don't know? That's really scary when you think about that. And like, there's no time. And then we're all facing this. Okay, and well, now we're left and we're all sitting here and we're doing this podcast work and everyone else is going and getting all this toilet paper. Like, I don't want to run out of toilet paper again. That was a scary time here in my household, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So
Well, I wonder if this affects like food and stuff like that as well, because I know obviously inflation is something we've all been dealing with over the last year or two. I mean,
amount of inflation.
I wonder if again hyper regionally if this is going to affect those kind of prices.
The East Coast, that being a big port, I would assume so. Trying to see what information that I saw that would be really good from like the PPAI or the ASI articles that put out that maybe someone didn't read. Was there anything, Stephen, that you had in there that we could talk about in the last minute 20 left?
No, there was some interesting statistics on the actual port. I know we mentioned that it's the 20th largest port in the country, and some of the logistical numbers from 2023. So 80.8 billion in trade came in and out of there, 7 million tons of general cargo, 3 million tons of roll-on, roll-off farm and construction machinery, 847,000 cars and small trucks were in there. So again, not wholly listed, directly connected to promo. But here's the thing: like if we learned anything about anything like this, our supply chain is so connected to all the other supply chains, right? So even if it's not a direct promo relationship, you never know like how this is going to affect, whether it's pulling labor from a port that normally would be at promo because it needs to go here, right, or it slows down the transit times, or it delays the trucks, or we're so connected and hyper connected in that way that we learned over the past few years that we'll see some effects here and there. Hopefully it won't be as significant as a nationwide issue that we had, but it's just going to be a journey, I think, for that hyper local area, and we'll have to kind of keep our ear to the ground in promo to see how it's affected. So
yeah, sure. And anyone who's listening, I would love to hear your take on this. What do you think? Are you already being affected? How do you see this affecting your business? And any suggestions for people who may be affected by this? Like, please leave it in the comments below. We'd love to talk about it on next week's episode and kind of revisit that. But I think this is really important for us to keep talking about and coming up with solutions and being prepared. When it breaks down to it, we don't want to be left like we were before without toilet paper or without our cars. So, let's keep that in mind and let's just stay diligent.
100%. Well, listen, hopefully you guys found the episode, if nothing else, educational and, just to kind of keep the communication going. I think that's what we learned the most over COVID was just, with the port congestions and delays and stuff like that, is just how to communicate more effectively and more forthright about what's currently happening. So, hopefully you guys will be able to do that with a little bit more knowledge on what's happening. So this episode was brought to you by our good friends over at Bell Promo. They're an award-winning supplier with the ever-expanding range of branded merchandise sold exclusively through their strategic network of promotional product distributors. Known and respected for their deepest inventory in the industry, Bell Promo has also leads the way with innovative decoration methods, exceptional turnaround time, and low 12-piece minimums. Look at that. I said it all right. All in one line this time. Go me. So listen.
Yes, you can Bell Promo that.
You can Bell Promo that. Absolutely. So at Bell Promo, their shared goal is to provide their distributor partners with every possible resource to support their efforts and to help their respective businesses thrive. So thank you guys again for sponsoring today's episode. And until next time, guys, we'll be seeing you.